Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're having Gaming News Consolidated. This is April 28th through May 4th. Now we're trying to consolidate this one for sure, and that's what I'm going to be calling it pretty much from here on out. The idea is to just take a look at the news for the week with several hours of research and watching videos and articles and stuff and consolidating the most important points during the week. Unfortunately, this might be the longest one I've actually ever had. We will see if we go over an hour, but I'll do the best that I can, because there's so much that happened this week. And some weeks are just like that, folks. So we're going to be talking about some details that were leaked about the new Switch 2.0. We're going to be talking about Nintendo and how they're affecting Gary's Mod and Pal World. We're also going to be taking a look at Apple with some production cuts over one of their devices. We're going to talk about BlizzCon. We're going to talk, too, about some changes coming to YouTube, most likely, and an indie game that's actually doing very, very well. We're also going to talk about Metaverse and how it's basically not going broke, necessarily, as there's still plenty of money in the company for Meta. But boy, how much money do you think they've lost by now? It's pretty insane. We're also going to go over a decision that was voted on for net neutrality. We're going to talk about the TikTok ban, and we're going to talk about Suicide Squad, some emergency changes. Also, the Starfield update is coming out May 15th, and what is also coming out after that. And then finally, games that are coming out in May. So, thanks for tuning in. You can always find me at Gaming Garbage 22 on YouTube and also over at Twitch at Don't Tread on Me. Don't forget to, as this is a longer one, you can go ahead and whatever you're listening on, you can go ahead and put the play speed to 1.25 times, and that will help you get through this faster if you'd like. So let's go ahead and dig right in. So a Chinese manufacturer, MobaPad, is helping basically make the new Switch. Now, we've heard leaks about this. We know, too, it also kind of got delayed, and we're expecting this now in March of 2025 with roughly an MSRP of maybe about, $350, $400. But MoPad says that with now that they've been building this, they say it's like a conservative upgrade to the Switch. So you could see this as like a Switch Pro. This is going to be a 1080p resolution. The current Joy-Cons will work with the new console. You'll also have backwards compatibility where you can take the cartridges from your old one and put it into the new Switch, but of course not vice versa. And then Nintendo is probably upset over this leak, so we'll see even if this delays further manufacturing and production, as they might be going with somebody else now, and so that takes time to set up. Now, the original Switch released in 2017, which definitely was quite a big upgrade, but carried over some of the stuff from the Wii U. And it seems like during a certain iteration, we always kind of get an idea or an extra push of innovation, but with the Switch, we don't seem to have really had that this time. So with the Wii U, we got a gamepad, which they basically kept that idea. They did add some more features to it, with like the Joy-Cons, being detachable and stuff, which is cool, because that gives us the Wii with also the feature of the Wii U. But then the Switch so far really hasn't had any big changes. So we had the original Switch in 2017, we had an OLED model in 2021, and then the Switch Pro, or 2.0, is going to be in 2025. But again, there's no big major changes with any of these three models. This is basically the same with improvements, and they're just kind of selling improvements now. Right now, you can buy a new Switch for about $300. If you get the OLED model, it's $350, and then probably the Switch 2.0, I'm guessing, is going to be $300 or $400. And so there's not really much of a way of upgrades or features. There will likely be maybe a little bit of performance improvement, because now we're going from 720p to 1080p, and you have to be able to graphically, have that. Also, games are going to be built on that too, so we're going to have 1080p, for native with where everything's built, which will be nice graphically to see that finally. And yeah, again, there will be a little bit of a performance, but we're probably not going to see too much, unfortunately. So is it going to be worth the price tag? Officially we don't have the MSRP yet, but I don't know. For me personally, probably not. And I don't even know if we're ever really going to see 4K come to Nintendo within this decade. Because to go from 720p to 1080, okay, you're taking a pretty good increase there, roughly about 35% in your resolution that you need to now, render on the screen and draw distances and all of that kind of stuff, and that can be pretty taxing. But to go to 1080p to 4K, you're talking about 400%. Not 35%, 400%, and that is insane. Now, the fact that the Switch is getting closer to an actual price tag of another console like an Xbox or PlayStation, and possibly with rumors of $400 now compared to consoles that are $500 or $600, is it really worth getting a Switch? So again, I think the IPs are going to continue to sell Switches. They are still the #1 selling console for everybody, and of course kids love them. And there's also usually split screen with their games and more party games, and it's great. Honestly, when the Switch 2.0 comes out, my wife and I would like to actually buy a Switch at a cheaper price point. But yeah, will we ever see 4K? Honestly, I don't know. That hasn't really been their business model. It hasn't been to have, super techy stuff like with PlayStation and with Xbox. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So moving on with Nintendo, Gary's Mod is having to remove all Nintendo content after Nintendo sent basically a cease and desist. So for years, Gary's Mod has been around, over 10 years now, I think. Basically, it's a kind of like a sandbox where you can put assets that you want and make whatever game you want. And honestly, some of the games and features are pretty fun and enjoyable. And yeah, it's a blast to play with your friends and screw around with stuff. But when you start putting like Mario and Pokemon and whatever else, Nintendo has now sent, hey, you can't do this anymore. Get it off your stuff, or you're going to be having some legal problems. So Gary's Mod has removed all of that, and I can guarantee you that is a good chunk. And it's not Gary's Mod itself, it's the players and creators that have been putting it on there. But again, Gary's Mod can't allow it because it's not their IPs. So, I don't know. Maybe they should put some Power World stuff on there. A Monster Hunter Rancher instead. Who knows? Yeah, that kind of sucks. On to Pal World and Pocket Pair, there is still no official lawsuit that has been filed with Nintendo against Pocket Pair and Pal World. And this is wonderful because I really enjoy Pal World and I enjoy the innovation that they've done and kind of changed how the game is a little bit. And let's be honest, the last few iterations that Pokemon Company has put out of Pokemon games haven't really been that different or innovative. Even though they've tried maybe with open worlds and having vehicles to try to travel around, they have been buggy as fudge. And so it is pretty hilarious that Pal World is just a preview and they sold literally like 25 million plus copies, and they are raking in the dough right now. But yeah, there's still no official lawsuit, and so Nintendo did say they would look into it about 2 months ago. Pal World was released in January of 24, and usually Nintendo is actually pretty quick, but we still haven't seen anything. Now, I don't believe Nintendo can technically do anything, and that's because we've already had Yu-Gi-Oh!, Digimon, and Monster Hunter, or Monster Rancher, that have also been kind of like Pokemon Worlds or Animal Worlds with generally the same idea. You have users, and you have their animals, monsters, or whatever you want to call them, or pets. And so, patents are made for the likeness of something. So imitations, but like you can't have the likeness copied, but you can have imitations of something else. And so that's why I don't think Nintendo really has any grounds, because they can't patent animals or monsters as a general rule. They can patent their Pokemon as an IP with the designs and color schemes and that kind of thing, but you can't patent animals. It'd be like patenting the letter sky or patenting the fact that there's a TV in a video game. It would kind of get ridiculous. It's like you can't patent generalities. You can only patent specific trademarks. And I think that's the issue that Nintendo's running into. So, do I think we have to worry about this? No, not really. It looks like, honestly, Pal Worlds is going to be sticking around. And with that, during the summer, we're going to get 2 new locations to explore and also 4 new pals to try to capture. Now, this update is going to be free, and if you have Game Pass, congratulations, you're going to be able to play this for free. We don't know the exact date, but sometime in summer. And then also, we already had a new update of fixes, different items and gadgets, and also more stuff for base building, which I haven't looked at yet, but I would like to look at that at some point for the channel. So moving on to Apple. Well, they're having to cut their production of like their Apple goggles that were like $3,500. They're having to cut the production by half. Their goal was to make 800,000 units, and they need to at least drop it down to 400,000 or maybe even more than that, which is wild, okay? We already know that PlayStation VR did not sell very well. They were hoping to sell 2 million units, pretty close within their first year of launch or so, and they've only sold maybe about 250,000. So they've also cut back on production, and the warehouses are stacked full, but Apple now is also starting to have the same problem now with tens of millions or maybe even hundreds of millions of Apple users. They haven't even sold even half of what they want to make, and they haven't even sold 400,000 so far, because they want to drop the full production at least down to 400,000. So yeah, they've probably sold 200, maybe less than that. Honestly, they have not sold very much, but they know they're definitely losing money on this, and it's not something people are interested in. And why would they be? $3,500? I mean, that's rent, food, insurance, all for 1 month. Like, that is a ton of money. $3,500. That could also be a vacation, an experience. That could be major fixes to your car, or actually paying most of a used one. That's roughly $6,000 or $7,000, and it's just crazy. There's also going to be an update for like the Google goggles, or excuse me, the Apple goggles. There's going to be an update in 2025, like mostly software and that kind of thing, but looks like that's actually likely to be canceled. So yeah, it's just not selling very well, and I want to be able to get to VR and augmented reality, AR. I want to be able to get to those things, but we need to be able to move around. We also need to be able to allow studios and devs to actually make full-fledged games, because we've had this now since PlayStation, since PlayStation 4, and we've also had Google Glasses like 10 years ago, 10 years plus. And we need to actually start getting to this point where we can actually have a full gaming experience, and we just don't have that. It's a very costly paperweight, folks, is what it is. Now, if you can do it right, it will be awesome, but we're just not there yet. Moving on to BlizzCon. Usually BlizzCon has been around really for a long time. I mean, they always have one every year, but this time in 2024, it's going to be canceled. Now, why would they do that? Well, that's because they don't have anything big to really show for BlizzCon. Usually they come out, they have stuff or whatever, and they talk about things, and one of the bigger things that we had at BlizzCon last time was Diablo Immortal. Woo! And also, Diablo 4. But Diablo Immortal was a mobile game. And they're like, what the frick is going on? Well, okay, what does Blizzard have? They could, if they don't really have anything to show, let's take a look at their IPs. I mean, they have Overwatch 2, Diablo 4, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Hearthstone, Diablo Immortal, Crash, Spyro, Skylanders. There's also a survival game that they canceled, which we'll never know what that was. They have all of these IPs, and you're telling me they don't have something to show for their own show? That's not looking very good. Now, I do think there are, of course, other things coming to Overwatch and Diablo 4, and probably World of Warcraft as well, and probably several others like Diablo Immortal or like Hearthstone, etc. But not big enough to have an entire BlizzCon, and they are also hemorrhaging money, and so financially, they're just not doing very good with Diablo 4, because that has just been a total train wreck. Well, not completely. It's been salvaged a little bit. They finally are listening to the consumer base and changing some features and stuff, which is great, but it's not a complete turnaround. And I think this will be another game that'll kind of be like Suicide Squad, where this doesn't have longevity over 12 months. This game is basically going to be done. So whatever they do have to show or announce will be used through YouTube and their channels, or maybe even Summer Game Fest, or like Xbox Showcase or Direct or whatever. So we'll just see. But yeah, no BlizzCon. Probably nobody really cares about that, including myself. Thank goodness I don't have to watch it. Yay. One less showcase this year. Moving on, YouTube is now testing a new feature where they're going to be showing ads when your video is paused. So as if it's not enough to get videos at the beginning and throughout and toward the end, you're now also going to be getting possible videos while your video is just paused, while you're moving away to go do something. And so that while you're walking away, you're going to be hearing this thing in your earbuds or your headset and or through your TV, which is just frick yeah, we just need more ads in our life. And yeah, there's already a ton of ads, and they're already putting features too behind paywall for premium, and they still need to push more ads. It's crazy. Also, have you noticed the cloud gaming? That's finally come out. I'm seeing that on my app on my phone, and they do work. I've tried a few. They work. They run pretty well. On a 4-year-old phone using a 4G network and a bad internet connection, they all run pretty good. And again, it's all cloud gaming, so you don't have to download anything. You just basically stream it, and it's there. All of these two are from, of course, the Google Play Store, as Google owns Play Store and YouTube. But I think they'll eventually monetize that feature too in some way. Or maybe it's like, hey, it's free to play, but there's monetization. Wouldn't you want to actually buy some microtransactions maybe, or some kind of a subscription thing? I can't wait to see over the next few years how they're going to also screw with this. And YouTube is just going to become another app that becomes more of a chore or a grind or frustration to use. Which is probably to push more toward premium, I'm sure. But yeah, it's not in our benefit, not at all. Next, we're moving on to Deep Rock Galactic. This is the indie game that has sold 1 million units so far. Congratulations to them. This is a fun co-op mining game in the future where you fight hordes of enemies. Does that sound familiar? Helldivers 2, it sure should. So think of it as like a Borderlands cartoon-style Helldivers 2. And that's basically what it is. It's really great. If you haven't played it, it's pretty fun. We showcased a little bit, I think, on the channel of Deep Rock Galactic. It was also on Game Pass for quite some time. I don't know if it still is, but their Unheard edition isn't $250. It's $10. And so, yeah, talk about loving the player. That's wonderful. $10. I mean, that's basically a Starbucks coffee. That's 2 gallons of gas. I mean, $10 is nothing. And so these are the devs and publishers that we want to support. And I think indie is going to get a bigger limelight, and also some of these smaller studios are going to start to have better reputations than a lot of AAA gaming studios like EA, Ubisoft, or Activision Blizzard. And the reason is because the indies, they have to care about their player base. They have to care about their consumers, while the big ones know that they're already just going to get sales. I honestly can't wait to see how monetized and screwed over people are going to be with Grand Theft Auto 6. I'm serious. And we already know that it's likely to be delayed at some point. If you haven't heard that, congratulations. I don't see anybody really talking about that, but we have some comments from actual Rockstar and Take-Two Interactive saying, yeah, this is more likely going to be a fall game of 2024 and maybe even out to 2025. Am I getting that right? I don't actually have notes. I'm doing that off of memory. Or maybe, no, I think this is going to be a 2025 game. So this might even come out in 2026. That would suck. That would suck. But anyway, yeah, poke around. It is out there on the internet. That is just so far, rumors. But yeah, we'll see when actually Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out. But I guarantee you the flipping monetization. I mean, if Grand Theft Auto Online and Grand Theft Auto 5 is any idea of how they're going to monetize number 6, I bet it's going to be pretty wild. And we're going to cover that here on the channel. The metaverse. Now, this has been something that, okay, Ready Player One came out. Mike Zuckerberg got a bee in his bonnet, maybe even up his ass. It was just like, hey, we're basically going to create gregarious games and make Ready Player One a reality. And so they have sunk billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars. And so far, the metaverse has lost $45 billion. Isn't that crazy so far? So how big is that? Well, Bandai Namco is $12.5 billion. Sony is worth $101 billion. Congratulations to them. They finally broke $1 billion. EA is $34 billion. Take-Two Interactive is $24 billion. And Nintendo is $57 billion. And these are totals. These are total capitalizations. And yeah, Metaverse so far has lost $45 billion. And so it's like, okay, is that really hurting them maybe? We'll dig into that in just a second. But instead of VR and AR, Meta is now changing kind of their business model to focus more on AI. Now exactly how they're going to do that or what it's for or what they're going to focus on, I don't know. Some type of tool, somehow implement it, but they finally understand that they need to be changing their business model. The people that were telling them 2 years ago weren't crazy. They just had foresight, and Zuckerberg was just out of his flippin' mind. So anyway, yeah, good luck to Metaverse. But unfortunately, Microsoft is already right now winning the race for AI. They're at a market cap of $2.9 trillion. Let me say that again, $2.9 trillion, and it's because of all of the AI stuff that they've been doing. So they have Azure, they also have ChatGPT 3 and 4, they're working on 5, and they also have Copilot. And so there's private and consumer and industry models for this, and also a free model too, of course, if you'd love to play with it. But yeah, almost $3 trillion for their market cap. I don't think Metaverse is really going to be able to catch up. But hey, competition is good. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, we could literally get closer to Skynet as we have companies trying to be like bigger and badder and faster. And yeah, we have started an entirely new kind of like commercial race to see who can get the best AI. So it'll be interesting to keep track of this. So I did take a look too at Meta's earnings. They just released them this week, and Meta is actually still in really good shape. Their net margin is 34%, so that means, out of the total amount of revenue, 34% is profit, which is flipping insane. It's really, really high. Their total market cap is 1.1 trillion. That is definitely nothing to snuff at. So 45 billion for them is nothing over the last several years. So I don't think, of course, Metaverse is going away. Meta is going to continue to work on that, but they're shifting a little more away from VR and focusing more on AI, but we still just don't exactly know what that looks like or what it'll look like. We also had the Metaverse being propelled basically because of digital land. Do you remember that? Built on the whole blockchain, and like NFTs were also a thing too, but like digital land was a thing. And man, you don't even hear that anymore because it was a flippin' scam. Okay, basically everything in the world has to have utility, and digital land didn't have it. So some people just blew that money. Congratulations. It's like freaking Bored Ape. I mean, just another dumb NFT thing of people trying to feel important. Okay, make your own importance. If people don't want to follow you or take a look at you, that's okay. Just keep moving on. You are enough on your own and by yourself. Okay? And if you want to have people in your lives, well, start being the type of person that you wish other people were to you. And I'll guarantee it, friends will come. They will. Moving on, the FCC, again, was going to have a new vote on net neutrality. So 6 years ago, they voted that to get rid of net neutrality to an extent, but the companies really haven't done anything. And so this vote was to actually bring net neutrality back to the United States. So what does this mean? Well, all internet traffic is going to be treated equally. So the easiest way to describe this is not your access to the internet. This is your internet traffic of what you would like to look at being treated equally among everyone else using and popping around the internet. So think of this. Your access to the internet is like the type of car you can buy on a road and use on a road, right? So some of us can buy regular cars like a Prius. I'm sorry for you. Or we can buy like a Toyota Corolla, or maybe like even a Honda Accord or something. But some of us too can buy sports cars, okay, like a Dodge Challenger. Some of us can buy supercars like a Dodge Viper, or even maybe hypercars like a McLaren F1. But it's all based on how much money you have. And so that dictates your speed. But what net neutrality is instead of the roads just being available for the public to use, the companies control the roads and they get to dictate what your speed is and also what the speed is of other people or even other companies. And so as you can maybe figure out after thinking about this for a little bit, that it's not really a good idea for them to kind of decide, choose, and when, and how much, and subscription plans, and all of this other kind of stuff, regulating and dictating what people can go for speed on those roads. And so, luckily, nothing really happened with this for 6 years, but net neutrality is back to neutral, where basically, if you have a fancy car, have at it. The speed is the limit, baby. So that's wonderful to see. And this really creates more, even playing field, and yeah, I'm actually really happy to see that. Next, we're going to talk about the TikTok ban. Okay, so the U.S. Senate and the President, Joe Biden, has passed and signed into law a ban of TikTok. So ByteDance has 9 months to sell TikTok to somebody. And basically, it's got to be within the United States or the Western world. But the issue is China. Oh man, I'm forgetting. The Communist Chinese Party is the government, right? The Communist Chinese Party can basically just say on a whim, hey, we need all of your data on all of your users. Even though ByteDance has said, no, we're not going to do that. Okay, they live in a communist country. They don't really have, rules or rights there like we do have in other places of the world. And so this is the security risk that has been kind of talked around now since like 2015, 2016. Now, it's already banned in several countries. And this is a national security concern that we had with Trump. And now that it's finally passed, and it's passed the House, it's passed the Senate, and it's been signed into law by President Joe Biden. Now, yeah, there has to be some actions taken, and it's got to be sold to somebody. So TikTok has 1 billion active users globally, which is crazy. Roughly, there's 170 million users in the United States, which is roughly half of the current population. Our population right now is roughly 345 million. So yeah, half are basically using it, which is pretty incredible. Do you have TikTok? Personally, I don't. I don't really have any social media. And I'm happy most of the time. Complete bans are India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, Indonesia, and Bangladesh. And some of these are temporary complete bans. So they're not supposed to be permanent, but a lot of the times these countries say, oh, we're just going to renew the temporary ban and just keep it going. Other countries are banning it on like government devices, which is most of the Western world. So like Australia or like parts of the EU or NATO alliance countries. Basically, the Western world has banned it on government devices. But the United States, if this is not sold to somebody, it would be pretty much a complete ban. So, like, you or I wouldn't be able to do anything. So how does this affect you now? You're still able to use the app, okay? It's still going to be there. At some point, you probably won't be able to download it to your phone until the sale has actually taken place. Now, that can happen between now and basically 9 months from now, which is January of 2025. Also, you're probably not going to get any security updates, which is an issue because software always needs updates. Otherwise, it eventually becomes unusable. There's bugs that need to get fixed, especially with security too, which, well, at that point, your security or your firewall just becomes Swiss cheese, and then you're more likely to get hacked or have user data problems or whatever. And so I'm sure ByteDance is going to work on this pretty quickly. Now, there is a loophole, of course. They could just make a shell company and then say, hey, we're going to sell it to the shell company that we control, and there you go. Okay, there's the loophole. They could also sell it to somebody else technically headquartered in the United States. There could also be some offers. So anything happening with TikTok, well, keep it here on the channel because 170 million of you love your TikTok. That's so many people. But yeah, right now it's not really going to change too much. Just do be aware that if you do use this as small business, as there's about 15 billion in revenue a year used to help small businesses get out there. I would just suggest switching, because this isn't an issue that's gotten away. It's finally been passed into law now, and now there's 9 months until this takes effect. And even if ByteDance does sell or whatever, it doesn't mean there can't be future laws later. So yeah, I would just switch to something else and just... it is what it is. This also brings up other issues with other Chinese companies. Okay, so we have NetEase, we also have Tencent. They own huge portions of the American gaming industry. And so, what about that? I don't know, it'll be interesting to see if that ever comes up. Next, we're going to be talking about Suicide Squad, and they're having emergency changes. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the changes that they're technically having, because none of them are really worth it. But one thing that is hilarious is the Avengers game, which is dead. Okay, that's been around for quite some time. It's a dead game, and it has more players right now than Suicide Squad does. That's a total fail. Suicide Squad also came out 3 months ago. And the changes are trash. So yeah, they're not even worth going over. It's not changing the game. It's not adding new enemies. It's not putting in new modes. It's really not even getting rid of the grind for the new season character, right? Instead of having to grind, however, like 70 missions to be able to get to level 35 so you can use Joker. It'd be nice if you could just get Joker at the beginning and play some new quests or side missions that they added in the game. But they're not doing that, so why even bother going back? And this is why the game's already dead. And I'm so glad, too, to see this live service game. It's just dying. Because this is why I hate live service. It's not focused on gameplay, okay? They're trying to sell you a digital closet shopping experience, a DCSE, and it's garbage, okay? I want my games back. That's what I want. And the fact that Rocksteady now has a completely destroyed reputation, I don't think people are going to be excited to buy their next game. If they even have one, folks. Okay, we're having this kind of bubble collapsing in the gaming industry. I don't think it's going to be as bad as like the 1980s, but we got to be honest here. There's a lot of damage going on. We're having more layoffs faster this year than last. We're having studios closed, a lot of games being canceled. We're having selling of different studios too to other publishers and other studios like Saber Interactive and Gearbox. I mean, this is bad. And we're also having other people leaving too, saying, sayonara, effers, we're going to start our own thing. And so that's like Empty Vessel and Bad Brain. We also have Uncapped Games. There's some others too, but there's like a total of 5 now. Oh yeah, 100 Stars, like another one. So people are finally getting fed up. The buyers aren't buying, and the devs aren't wanting to stay. And so yeah, at some point, it's like, when are we finally going to get back to having video games, folks? It'd be great to have them. Next, we're going to talk about the Starfield update. So we're having a really big one coming up on May 15th. Now, the last one was quite a joke. I don't even really see why they put it out there, but hey, they did. And the idea is to have content or updates or fixes coming out every 6 weeks. So we'll see if they can keep up with that schedule. But right now, Starfield update May 15th. This actually made me go out and buy a physical copy of Starfield for $22. Freaking smoking deal, folks, because I'm going to want to jump in back into this again. So with this particular update, we're going to have a completely redone thing of city maps. These are 3D rotationary maps with markers on them, and also you can also put on like overlay your HUD with markers too in the city, like New Atlantis or Red Mile or whatever. And so this is actually really cool, and I gotta say the 3D city maps look really flippin' good. Way better than what I was ever anticipating or expecting. So that's great. We're also having changes to gameplay. So we have an extreme mode. Good luck. That's probably going to be pretty damn difficult. We're also going to have tweaks to damage output for you and input from your enemies and other creatures. We have changes to cargo capacity, cargo access distance. So hey, if you want to be 1,000,000 miles away from your ship and we still want to access cargo, you can do that. We can also change vendor credits that are available to less, keep them the same, or add infinite, whatever. You can also have changes to medical, food, and afflictions. So, I mean, there's a ton of changes here, and while we don't necessarily have like a true survival mode, we can really tweak around with a lot of settings that we wish in order to have the gameplay experience that we want. And that's actually really nice. Also, there's going to be ship decorating in the interior. And so there's a lot of different items that you can have, and basically you can tweak and manipulate and shift them around on your ship wherever you want. As many, probably, as you want. So, free reign on ship decorating on the interior, which is great. We already can build the ship we want. Now we can, decorate. And while that isn't necessarily huge for everybody, it is actually nice to have that option. We're also going to have a focus of 60 frames per second on Series X. Woo! Finally! So that was also a big deal too, of like, hey, we're capping it at 30 frames because it is pretty challenging, but you'd have to tweak some stuff or do some compression maybe, or figure out something else to actually try to reach double the frames, because that's pretty taxing on the machine. Now, I do expect the next gen PlayStation 6 and Xbox whatever is going to be to actually be able to do native 4K at 60 frames. If it can't, they are selling you junk. I truly believe that. So if we're not getting consistent 60 frames at 4K, what the frick are we paying for? Okay, just wait for it, and we'll cover that here on the channel when it gets here, years from now. But yeah, goal right now is 60 frames for the Series X. Now, apparently, this is also for performance and quality mode. But yeah, regardless of what mode you're on for visual performance, 60 frames is the goal. Also, we're going to be getting New Game Plus, which now allows you to respec your character. So if you want to totally switch it up without having to completely delete your character and start another one, well, now you can just kind of respec what you'd like and how much you'd like when you start New Game Plus, which is actually nice. We also have a dialogue camera. So instead of just being up, really freaking close chatting with somebody, now you can just be a fair distance away. The camera can be kind of zoomed out, and you can tweak your camera while you're chatting with another character. Your text box and options for questions or dialogue options are all still there for you, but now you can actually see a more kind of surrounding environment, get more of a vibe of the situation, and it actually adds some kind of subtle nuances to how a character is engaging with you or the NPC, conversation is going. So that's actually kind of cool. Again, not everyone's going to like that, but it's nice that we're having that. This update is free too, by the way. Later, we got to see some more stuff. So we finally got to see that we're having vehicles coming. Okay, this looked like a four-wheeled buggy of some sort, or some kind of... Yeah, buggy would be a good word. I'll leave it at that. We're also be getting some new quests. And we also got to take a look at the DLC of Shattered Skies, and I gotta say, something truly freaky is going on there, but it looks really interesting. But yeah, when you're putting pinks, purples, and blues and mix it all in with some colors and something at night or where it's dark, I don't know, it kind of looked interesting. I'll be getting that too for when we get that, and that is supposed to be coming out later this year. My guess is probably around September, October. And then too, we're going to be getting console mods. And creators are having those right now, being able to create stuff for in-game. And how that's exactly going to be implemented, I imagine it's going to be kind of like the mods on Skyrim. And if you don't know we had mods on Skyrim, well, there you go. Content created stuff. And then we're also going to have access to console mods too. So those things, vehicles, new quests, Shattered Skies, and console mods, that's all coming later. Not May 15th, it'll be after that. But so far, Starfield is finally getting some good updates that we're going to be, in my opinion, needing for the game, for it to be a little bit more enjoyable. And my hardest thing with the game was, it was kind of boring. But if I got a buggy, frick yeah, give me a buggy, man. I don't want to take, 4 to 5 minutes traveling somewhere. I'd like to get there in 2. That'd be nice, because I'm a busy boy. And I need to be able to actually enjoy my time while I'm playing for my hour and a half that I have, so I can actually feel like I did something in the game. Lastly, games in May. We're going to have Prison Architect 2, that's going to be coming out on the 7th. We have Homeworld 3 coming out on the 13th. Hellblade 2 is going to be on the 21st, which is also going to be day 1 release on Game Pass. And then we have System Shock. Now, this is actually a remake. For those of you that are old enough, congratulations, you're my age. System Shock was a couple of games actually that we had, but we're getting a total remake of this apparently. That's coming out on the 21st. Now, I haven't seen very much, but I'm kind of curious. I'm hoping that's actually a good remake. If it seems interesting enough and I can afford it or whatever, knock on wood, I'll actually show that here on the channel. Also, we'll get Paper Mario 1000 Door. That's on the 23rd. And then we get Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. That's on the 24th. And then also 33 Immortals, where you can play with you and 32 other friends and co-op together and basically, destroy monsters and whatever. That's also on the 24th. So we got a few games coming out. Any of those sound interesting? Maybe. We already got, Suicide Squad out of the way. We already got Skull and Bones out of the way. Stellar Blade has been doing really good. We got that out of the way. Are there any games that you're interested in? Are there any that I missed? So, of course, thanks for tuning in, folks. You can always follow me too at GamingGarbage22, and also follow me at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee. Don't forget our Discord server. It's not just to mingle with others from the channel. It's also a place and hub to find other players to play with, because that used to be pretty normal back in my day, and it'd be nice to actually have that back. So we have a inquiry text channel where just, hey, post up what platform you're on, what game you're looking for. Hopefully some folks will respond to you. In the beginning of all of this, I will try to respond with you and play whatever games you got, or at least we can play something. And then I also have voice channels too. So regardless, even if things are cross-platform, all y'all can hop right into the voice channel and be able to communicate and play your game. So with that, folks, hopefully you guys are having a good one, and I'll see you on the next one.